Is it possible to carry a burden with joy? Often we perceive burdens as something negative, something heavy, and sometimes unbearable. But today we'll explore a different perspective on burdens through the story of a man named Amos. Imagine this. You're working overtime every day, even on weekends, not because you have to, but because you choose to. This was the reality for a colleague of mine who had been working tirelessly for half a year. It turns out she was doing it all to support her husband and daughter, who was a top speed skater in New York and Australia. The family was preparing for an international competition in South Korea, a competition that unfortunately received little financial support from the government or clubs due to speed skating being a minor sport, leaving families to shoulder most of the cost. This is an example of a burden born out of love, much like the burden carried by the prophet Amos. His name in Hebrew means burden, but he wasn't a professional religious figure who received a salary. He earned his living by tending sheep and tending sycamore fig trees. Yet he answered God's call and served as a prophet, a high-risk job that required him to fund his own travels and withstand various forms of persecution from rulers and the general public due to the stark messages he spread. Amos proclaimed the punishment that God was going to bring upon several Palestinian nations for their persecution of God's people. These were Syria, Philistia, Phoenicia, Edom, Ammon, and Moab. Each had committed different crimes, from the violent acts of Damascus to the greed of Gaza, from the betrayal of Tyre to the merciless pursuit of Edom, from the cruelty of Ammon to the constant sinning despite knowing the consequences. The result of their judgment? Fire and destruction, with their people taken captive. These nations' evil deeds are a reflection of the sin inherent in human nature. As written in Timothy, people can be selfish, greedy, boastful, proud, abusive, disobedient, ungrateful, unholy, heartless, unforgiving, slanderous, without self-control, brutal, not lovers of the good, treacherous, rash, conceited, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God, having a form of godliness but denying its power. However, remember this: whatever one sows, that will he also reap. God's judgment is based on this principle. To the faithful, God shows himself faithful. To those with integrity, he shows integrity. To the pure, he shows himself pure, but to the wicked he shows himself hostile. So, today, reflect on the burdens you carry. Are they born out of love, like the mother supporting her daughter? Or the prophet Amos delivering God's message despite the challenges they faced? Or are they burdens of sin, like those of the nations Amos prophesied against? Take a moment to consider this, and then take action. If your burdens are born out of love, carry them with joy, knowing that they are shaping you into a better person. If they are burdens of sin, seek forgiveness, turn away from your wrongdoings, and start anew. Remember, burdens can either weigh you down or shape you into a stronger, better person. The choice is yours.